Welcome back to another installment of I'm Fine. When we say I'm fine, it can be a mask for millions of things. For when we're waiting, for when we're hurting, for when we're anxious, waiting for things to get better, waiting for clarity, waiting because we don't want to overreact, bother anyone, or admit how overwhelmed we really are. But waiting isn't always calm. Sometimes waiting is where anxiety lives. Makenna Dietrich knows this intimately. As a wife, a mother, and an advocate, she's lived through what happens when waiting feels easier than acting, and what it costs when you wait for too long. For Makenna, one of the clearest lessons about waiting came through her family's health.
If I look at from like my husband's standpoint, he was having GI bleeding that was happening both in the upper GI and lower GI that we waited a long time. Months probably, actually, I think it was close to 6 months before I finally pushed him that we needed to do something. Um, Doing that, we found out that he actually had grown a sort of inhibitor to the med he was currently on, and we never saw it until it was a long hospital stay. Like, I think we were there over 3 or 4 days in the hospital trying to figure out what was going on with his GI bleeding. Looking back now, I wish that I would have been more of an advocate for him, even though, let's be honest, he probably wouldn't have listened to me. I wish I would have pushed it a little bit harder and been like, okay, we need to actually go and get this looked at because this is not normal.
Waiting didn't just delay answers, it delayed understanding, and added weight Makenna didn't even know she was carrying yet.
At that point, I was not as educated as I should have been when it came to bleeding. I did not understand how serious a GI bleed was. And also, I will say that my husband did not educate me on how serious a GI bleed was either, because he's very much somebody of, oh, it's fine, I'm going to push it behind. Like, it's not that big of a deal until it's becoming totally debilitating and he can't work and he can't function with his kids and all of these different things. I wasn't seeing all of the side effects that he was having and how it was affecting his job at work. And I wasn't seeing all of the 24/7 stuff of it. I was just seeing the stuff maybe when we were at home and he was just laying on the couch and unable to move. So I think that I was hoping, because I wasn't being told stuff, I didn't think that it was as serious as it actually was, until we were in the hospital and they're like, you should have came in a long time ago. He does not like asking for help at all. It's so hard.
Waiting can feel passive. For Makenna, waiting quickly became overwhelming, especially when it came to her children.
2024 was a really rough year for our family. Between my husband he was hospitalized 2 or 3 times. He was hospitalized a lot. And then our daughter was going to the ER for 2 or 3 times a month, every single month for about 8 months. So that was a hard time on us. I think that I realized that, like, waiting and asking for help, waiting was not always going to be the answer for us. The end of the year was a year that I could feel the anxiety in like every wall that she hit. And because like she would just look at a wall and get like a goose egg on her. And so it was like every single thing that she hit, I had so much anxiety. Within the end of the year 2024 is when I realized that I needed to find some way to like get an outlet for that. I was not being an effective parent and coworker, and I was not serving myself either mentally, because I had that was my brain all the time. Like, I could not talk about anything else other than this, and hemophilia, because I was constantly worried about it for both my husband and my daughter all the time.
This is where I'm fine starts to crack. Because waiting wasn't making things better, it was making everything heavier.
So much. Like, the person I am today is not who I was in 2024, because I was just a bundle of anxiety and everything. I learned a lot about myself of, if I can have another medical professional tell me that she's okay, because I'm not a medical professional at all, nor do I ever want to be one. But knowing that the faster I get her to go see a medical professional and getting her evaluated, I realized so much mentally, like that entire burden was just taken off of me because they said that she was okay. So once that they said she was okay, I finally felt like I was able to breathe. But I also have that internal monologue of like, I'm bothering everybody. I don't want to bother everybody. I'm going to deal with it by myself. And those days were so much more anxiety and like just bundled up like stress and everything all day long compared to the days that I was just like, I'm just going to send a simple message through our HTC and they'll tell me if we're good. And if we're not, we're not. Great, we'll move on. Being the annoying parent, not that big of a deal. We'll move on. I'll get over it at some point. But I mean, my kids' health and safety is more important than annoying other people.
Acting didn't mean panic. It meant relief. It meant support. And it meant rewriting the story she was telling herself.
The story I tell myself about waiting versus doing is it's always better to just do because you'll get your answers so much quicker. I realized that waiting had a cost when I was anxious every time that my daughter looked at a wall and got a bleed, and I was waiting for a medical professional to get back to me. My instinct for timing has changed a lot by not sitting there and just overthinking every single thing. Now I just ask. I'm okay with hearing a different answer than what I want sometimes, and I wasn't that way before. I know that it's time to move forward when I can see that my family members are being physically altered by what is happening with their bleeding disorder. I'm Makenna. I am an advocate for my husband with severe hemophilia A, my 3 children, 2 of those that have hemophilia A, and those in my community in the state of Nebraska who I serve as the community outreach coordinator.
For Makenna, doing didn't mean having all the answers. It meant trusting herself enough to ask.
Just do it. Like, it's not going to get any easier by waiting. It's actually going to probably cause more problems. So just do it.
I'm fine can sound like strength, but sometimes it's just fear dressed up as patience. Makenna's story reminds us that waiting isn't neutral. It has a cost, emotionally, mentally, physically, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop waiting, send the message, ask the question, and let yourself breathe again. Thanks for listening to I'm Fine.